Hey everyone, welcome to Co-Create Your Life, where you can learn how to master the law of attraction. This is episode 11, How to Overcome Limiting Beliefs by Entering the Zero State. I am Brandon Oliveris.
And I'm Christine Oliveris.
Justin Williams.
And we are here today talking about a very popular topic that needs, I think, some covering, and that is, limiting beliefs, and one specific way of overcoming them, which is through the zero state, which I'll talk about for those who haven't necessarily read my blog post on the zero state. It's a huge thing. So that'll be our topic today. But before I get into all of that, just some announcements. If you would like to see the show notes, which has the links to any resources and transcript and the ability to comment on this podcast, just go to co-creationcoaching.org/CCYL011. And if you would like to ask us a question for future podcasts, you can go to co-creationcoaching.org/ask. And that's where you can ask a question. All right, so that's about it for today. So, again, today's topic is all about limiting beliefs, the subconscious mind, the zero state, all sorts of fun stuff. And so I think, the place to start out, well, first of all, why we're talking about this, because there's been a lot of confusion lately about, okay, what is this zero state thing? Why are you making such a big deal out of it? And, how do you enter it, and how on earth does it help with overcoming limiting beliefs? Okay, so it's really what we're going to be talking about, because there's, like I said, some people don't realize necessarily the importance of the zero state, and I know there's, I talk about it all the time in the blog posts, but it's underrated. I think it's just, it's so important. You cannot overestimate it. So it's extremely important to understand the role of the zero state in manifesting. So that's what we'll be talking about. So first of all, why do you need to overcome limiting beliefs? What's the importance of doing that? Because, what's the effect of having limiting beliefs when you're trying to manifest? Is it really a massive effect, or is it not such a big deal? And basically, the answer is that it depends. It depends on how seriously how seriously you take your limiting beliefs. And we'll talk about that a little bit later when we talk about more about the zero state. But, for most people, they're right in there with their limiting beliefs. They are taking them totally seriously. They take them almost as fact. You see people who grew up from childhood believing certain things from their parents, from their relatives, from school, from whatever, and they just don't even question it, and that's a huge...
And they don't even know either. It's like just part of their life.
It's just a part of their life, yeah. It's just a huge thing that they take for granted, that they don't even question. And it could be a bad thing or it could be a good thing. Some people have the belief that it's easy to succeed in the world, and that's an awesome belief, and they don't ever question that, nor should they, and it works for them because they succeed, right? And other people have the belief, let's say it's, the world is about struggle and about hardship and all that kind of stuff, and those kind of people will also not question it. They'll take it for fact, and their life will reflect that. So that's when you take it as fact, when you take it as gospel, then it is definitely going to affect your everyday life. Because, it's basically your limiting beliefs are a filter, right? They filter, the data coming in through your senses. They filter, the thoughts you're having, the way you see the world, all that kind of stuff. And when you have a filter that says, life is hard, you have to struggle in the world to get anywhere, it colors everything. And so it's going to affect, even the type of goals you have, what you think is possible, what you even hope for, and all that. But, we'll talk about the zero state later. there is a way out of that. You can still have a limiting belief and not take it completely seriously. You can have a limiting belief and sort of detach from it, even while holding it, even while believing it. I know that seems kind of odd and a little, counterintuitive, but it's absolutely true. Have you ever had that experience, Justin, where you've kind of had a limiting
Uh,
belief and not totally believed it or been attached to it?
yeah. Well, what? Okay. Well, one thing you can have is something that is actually true, but that you can circumvent. In other words, you say you have a limiting belief, but you can
Hmm.
find a way around that limiting belief that you have experienced
Right,
before. You can't deny it because it's like, no, I've really experienced this,
right.
but I know there's a way around it. So I know even though this, whatever it is true,
Hmm.
I can find a way to still achieve what I want,
Right.
what I'm looking to get. And that you can do with a limiting belief, or you can do with something that's technically actually even true. It's not a lot of people can do X, Y, and Z. I can.
Right. And
I can do it.
that's the thing about limiting beliefs is that, a lot of times they might be true in a particular sense for some people, but limiting beliefs are by definition something that we apply globally. It's globally
Right.
true that, money is hard to earn, or at least it's definitely true for me. Let's say, not, I'm just speaking generally, if someone were to believe that.
Mm-hmm.
It's globally true that life is about hardship, that we're tested, and so you apply that to everyone, or at least to yourself. And that's where the
Yeah,
limiting part of limiting belief comes in, because you can say,
that's right.
you can say, well, some people experience this, and that's true. You know, pretty much anything you can say is true for someone.
Right.
But to say it's true for everyone, or it's always definitely true for you, to generalize it like that. Remember, in NLP, that's a meta model violation. Generalization. Remember, deletion,
Yes.
distortion, generalization are the three ways that you can manipulate data as it comes into your mind, even without knowing it. Generalization is that always, never, for everyone, for no one. It's true for everyone, or it's always true that money is hard to earn, or it's always true that you have to struggle, or it's always true that you have to work hard to get anywhere in life. That's a limiting belief, because you are applying it globally to the whole world, and it's just not how it is. It might be true for some people. I don't believe it's ever necessarily true for everyone. It's just how someone might choose to live, but you're trying to apply
Mm-hmm.
it to everyone, and it's just not going to work. There are very few generalizations that you can really apply to everyone like that, so that really is the definition of a limiting belief, is when you try to apply it globally like that. So I think a really common one is, and when it comes to manifestations, do you remember we talked about this recently about how long people think it takes to manifest?
Uh,
And what's that?
you've said things about it. Yeah.
We just said it recently.
I don't
I
remember.
do. I remember that. I don't
I
remember
had
the
it written
exact
down, so I
date.
know it was somewhere. But you know, people think that. Oh yeah, that was it. People think that in order to manifest, they have to, you know, kill all of their limiting beliefs, right? And
Yeah.
they have to absolutely annihilate every single one of their limiting beliefs that's blocking them from getting their manifestation, their desired outcome, their goal. And so you have people believing or thinking that it's going to take months or even years sometimes to, really work through this. So that's the kind of caveat to limiting beliefs, is that they are not they are not something that has the power to stop you in your tracks to manifesting. You can as you were saying, Justin, you can circumvent those limiting beliefs. You don't have to kill them. You don't have to annihilate them in order to be able to start manifesting. If you use the zero state and if you get around them through, um, detaching from them, even if you still believe in them in some way, you can manifest what you want. It's rarely effective to um, sit there for hours or for day after day after day and just hammer away at your limiting beliefs. It's rarely, 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 if ever, effective to do that, because
No,
every time you look back, okay,
There's more.
is there anything else? Yeah, there's something else. Is there anything
you
else? Yeah,
you just you you just want to. Yeah, there will be more.
right,
You want to, if you need to get, if that limiting belief is like a mountain,
right,
then maybe go ahead and use a method to whittle some of it down. But as soon as you get a chance, as soon as you feel that your manifestation might be possible, grab onto that energy and start walking that manifestation path, and do your
right,
best to use radical acceptance and mindfulness to ignore
exactly.
your limiting beliefs. For example, persons say with disabilities and employment. Well,
Mm-hmm.
if you look at the percentages, overall, it isn't that good. I mean, it's, but but I'm employed.
Right.
So like, that obviously that doesn't apply to me. I mean, not,
Right.
is it more difficult? It can be, but I usually find a job one way or the other. So, so it didn't stop me. So I'm just saying that
Right.
on average, maybe, and in some instances, maybe it's going to be tougher. And I understand as a truth that overall it's tougher, but I will
Right.
always have one. So
Right.
I circumvented it.
Right. Yeah.
I didn't overcome it.
Right.
I pushed through it or circumvented it.
Right. Yeah. Kristen, can you introduce whatever you wanted me to talk
Mm-hmm.
about?
Well, I don't know if now is the right time.
Okay. Well, let me know. Yeah, that's definitely
I
true,
just don't want
though.
you to forget because you talked about it before when.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly what it was. You can bring it up if you want to. But yeah, that's and it might be that people experience that because they have that belief. It might be we kind of have this causality thing going on where okay, well, people believe it because it happens. What if it happens because people believe it? Is it
Yeah,
necessarily that it
true.
happen that people it happens and it's just a fact of life and therefore people believe it, or can it be that well because we tend to believe that therefore it happens, and that's
And they're malleable and they change.
just like the 4 minute mile, where for years no one was able to run a 4 minute mile, and then one guy did it. One guy ran a 4 minute mile, and now
Yeah, I
like
remember this.
a whole bunch of people are able to do it, right? Just because someone broke through that barrier, and
Mm-hmm.
now it's like, oh, it can be done, right? And
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I've talked about this one before. I don't think this was you and Christine, but this is another example. But I've started several businesses, and I always say the first customer is the hardest to get, because the first
Mm-hmm.
one it's like okay, I don't know what it's like to get the first one. Once I get the first one, it's like just like that 4 minute mile. Okay, that barrier is breached. Now I know the experience of getting a first customer or getting a customer, and so then the floodgates open. Then it's like, okay, now it happens again and again and again. It gets faster and faster. The next one might come a week later. The next one might come 5 days later, and it just keeps happening because now I know that experience and I can tune into the energy of getting a customer. But it takes that one person to come the first time.
Except in the case when you first started co-creation coaching.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Is that what you meant?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So that
That's what you
is.
wanted me
Thank
to
you.
remind you of.
Thank you. Um, that happens, when I first started co-creation coaching. Um, I had a huge amount of success at first in the first month, and this shows actually, this is a perfect place to bring it up because this shows what I was talking about, how you don't need to hammer away your limiting beliefs, because this is what I tried. So, when
Yes.
I first started co-creation coaching, the first month I had a huge amount of success. And then,
Hmm.
I had that fear because it brought up all sorts of limiting beliefs, because it's like, holy heck, I'm not ready. I don't know if I'm ready for this. It's scary. What if it
Yeah.
stops? What if it stops? And you know what happens when you ask, what if it stops?
It stops.
Oh, you said you had 4 months or something, right?
Yeah, so it stopped after a month. And then I had just a dry spell, just zero. Like maybe there was one a month for 2 months,
And then
and
nothing.
then nothing for like 3 or 4 months. Just absolutely nothing. And I was hammering away at that belief, and I was doing everything all the law of attraction teachers said, Abraham Hicks and everyone else, just hammering away at that. And I was, feeling good. I was positive. I was optimistic. I was, just
For a while.
just
And then
feeling
you were
good about it.
frustrated.
Well, of course I was frustrated, but I would have long periods of just feeling good about it. But guess how much of a change there was?
None.
None whatsoever.
No.
Zero. Nothing. There was no change. And I was really, honestly, and I hear this from people all the time. People will say, I've been feeling good for months and nothing's happened. And I had a blog post about this, and which I'll link to in the show notes, about why is it? Oh, do you always have to be happy to get your manifestation? Why is it that if you feel good, that oftentimes you don't get it? And for some people who don't necessarily do that, they do get it, and they don't always feel good, right? So I was trying to do that. I was trying to do the feel good thing and following all the advice of distracting myself and just feeling good and just working on that belief and not thinking about it and stuff like that. Nothing happened, right? And so it took, and like I said before, I don't know what the turnaround was, but I think it was just basically saying, you know what, I've had enough. I'm going to succeed. There's not a choice, because it got to the point where I was like, can I even do this? Like, maybe I should just quit and go to. I was thinking about going to accounting school and go become
Yeah.
an accountant, because I love numbers. I'm really good at numbers, and I was almost going to do that. Okay, this is like how many months later? 8 months later, and that was I was almost going to do that, and then it was soon after. I was just like, I have to succeed. I'm going to do it somehow, right? And um, it was through willpower. It was through deliberate choice, and I didn't realize this at the time. I didn't realize the importance of deliberate choice and will until much, 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 much later. But it was. I think that's what it was that got things moving. That I said, I'm going to make this work. I'm going to make this work, because there's no other choice. I didn't sit down and look through my limiting beliefs. I didn't go back to childhood and and dig out the roots of the beliefs, and I didn't do all that stuff. I just chose that they're not going to be a big issue. I liked your metaphor of the mountain, Justin. When you said that, I'll tell you the first thing that came to mind.
Hmm.
Why whittle away at that mountain when I can just go around it?
Yeah. I mean, that's what I tell people is if you can't see a way around it, then whittle away at it until
Right,
you can, and then walk
right.
around it.
Walk around
Don't
it.
try to don't try to climb over it and
Right.
over, and
Don't try to make a
you know,
tunnel through it.
don't try to make a tunnel through it. I mean, well, wait, you can. Don't try to do that though. It hurts a lot. Just hold your inner vision and ignore it,
Yep.
and use all of your force to just
Mm-hmm.
walk
Mm-hmm.
towards your
Right.
manifestation. You don't need to go through all the limiting beliefs while they're here. Well, they just are.
Who
I mean,
cares? Who cares?
granted,
Don't ask why.
it's nice to know why, but figure it out on the way. Don't
Right.
don't stop and do it.
Right.
Just
Yeah.
so don't
Go
stop
around
and
the
do it.
mountain. Don't let the mountain. And,
Yeah,
and once you start going around the mountain, the fact that you're ignoring the mountain will make the mountain get smaller.
get
It'll
smaller.
it'll shrink. It'll get, and that's what we're going to talk about right now. So the way you go around the mountain, okay, is through the zero state. Now, what is the zero state. Now, if you've read my blog, you already know this, and but I'm going to try to put it in new terms that I haven't really talked about before. But there are people who might not have read those posts. I will link to those posts about the zero state in the show notes, so go ahead and check that out. But what is it? The zero state is, so the way I like to summarize it is, when you look at a lot of law of attraction teachers, they outline, let's say they'll call it like the emotional guidance scale. That the higher the vibration, the more positive you are, the more joyful, the more blissful. And so, like, if you're neutral is a bad thing, right, to them. So the more joyful, happy, blissful, bouncing off the walls you are, the closer you are to getting your manifestation, right? That's generally the outlook that they have. But it doesn't really bear out in reality, because what you have to realize is that everything is just an emotion. Happiness, joy, bliss,
Right.
gratitude, appreciation, all those are just emotions. Emotions don't last forever.
Nope.
You can't, you can't hold on to joy forever. I'm sorry, you can't. They'll say, oh, the only thing keeping you from joy is your resistance. No. Joy is just an emotion.
Oh.
It comes and goes. What is really,
Mm-hmm.
really forever is the zero state. Now, what the zero state is basically, this place of no momentum, no movement, is stillness, silence. I call it like the still pond that you can drop the pebble into and get the ripples, and that's how you manifest. And it's this place of absolute stillness within yourself,
Right.
right? And only that place is eternal. Only that place remains, no matter what emotion is going on outside. I compare it, and this might help those who have been confused about it, to a wheel, right? And I talked about this actually also in the support call number 21, and I'll link to that too. But it's like a wheel, okay? And if you look at a wheel, it has a whole bunch of spokes that go all out around it, and in the middle is a hub. And if you go like literally directly in the middle of that hub, there is a single point where there is no movement. There is a point of stillness.
Yep.
And you can actually feel it too.
You can put your
You can
finger
put
on
your
it.
Bicycle
finger on it.
tire.
Right, you can put your finger on it
Mm-hmm.
and feel everything else. You can feel around around it moving, but that very one point, that little point, directly in the center, does not move.
No matter how fast everything else
No matter
moves,
how
it could be the
fast.
fastest fan ever.
Right.
There's a point that simply doesn't move. You can put your finger on it and be perfectly safe.
There's this
Even the fan, yeah, that's right.
There's this quote from the Tao Te Ching, which I love, that says something like, like we focus so much on beingness, but a house is built of both, beingness and non-beingness, or emptiness and um, non-emptiness, objects. I wish I could find that quote, actually. I don't know if I can find it, but basically you have to focus on beingness and non-beingness, because that is what everything is made up of. I don't think I can find it, but I can try real quick.
Yeah, it's both. Like, it's.
Okay, I found it actually. Chapter 11.
How did you find it so fast?
I have no idea.
I was gonna try to do filler while you found it.
Nope. Thank you though. So basically, this is from chapter 11, the Tao Te Ching, and this is perfect. This is my metaphor. We join spokes together in a wheel, but it is the center hole that makes the wagon move. That is beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Stillness in the middle. We shape clay.
Say that one more time.
Okay. We join spokes together in a wheel, but it is the center hole that makes the wagon move.
Yep.
And it goes on. We shape clay into a pot, but it is the emptiness inside that holds whatever we want. We hammer, this is the one I was referring to. We hammer wood for a house, but it is the inner space that makes it livable.
That's giving me chills.
We work with being, but non-being is what we use. That's the whole of chapter 11 of the Tao Te Ching. That is beautiful. That is exactly what I'm talking about. That's the zero state, non-being, emptiness, stillness, the center. Do you see? Everything
Mm-hmm.
revolves around it. You can't have, like it says, you hammer wood for a house, but you need the emptiness within. You need the space. You can't live in a house that you don't have space. You can't just have a pile of wood, with no space.
No.
Or like science says that most of matter is space, empty space. Like I can't remember all the ratios, but if you were to blow everything, like if you were to expand everything out, blow it all up, it would be mostly empty space. The space between the
Mm-hmm.
subatomic particles. It's mostly empty space. So that's the core. The core of the universe is not motion. It's not the spokes. It's not the manifestation. The core of the universe is stillness. So that zero state is the stillness at the center of the wheel, in the emptiness of the clay pot, as it said. It's a non-being. It's the void, the stillness, and that is beneath all your emotions and thoughts. I know it kind of sounds advanced, and it sounds like, oh, you have to be all zen and everything, but no, it's just you have to stop believing your thoughts and emotions, and we don't realize we have that option of um, I don't have to believe these thoughts that are coming up, because these thoughts are just energy.
And it's you. An amateur can do it.
Right. Anyone.
You don't have to be.
Oh, sure.
You don't have to be, simple or
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
advanced. I'm sorry
Yes.
to do it.
Evolved spiritually. Yeah.
No.
So that's the zero state. Now, that is neutral. It's not bliss. It might sometimes feel like big relief when you enter into it, but it's
sometimes you almost feel your emotions more.
Yeah, it's not bliss. It's
No.
just stillness. I'm not going to say neutrality. It's not like it's not boredom. It's not like it's stillness. It's peace. It's peace.
Mm-hmm. It's just sitting right here in the zero state.
It's always there. No matter, even if you
And
are.
you can
Go ahead.
you can feel your thoughts and emotions. You
Yeah.
can examine them,
Mm-hmm.
or you can let them float away from you, or you can do both. But
Right.
you feel them, but you don't acknowledge them. You don't focus on them. You just sort of they're there.
Had that last
Okay,
night.
it's gone.
I had a horrible migraine last night, I've been getting them a lot more lately. But I was kind of like, I felt the pain really bad, but I also was in the zero state too. So it was like I was split in half or something. It was kind of a weird feeling.
Right. That's awesome.
That's why last night, Brandon, I was so out of it.
Yeah,
I think.
you were out of it. So, how does the zero state help with limiting beliefs? So, what you have to understand is this idea of feeding a manifestation. What does a manifestation live on? What a manifestation lives on.
Focus.
Focus! There you go. You're not even going to let me ask this time.
I said it this time. Did you hear me?
You both said it. I know. You both said it at the same time. A manifestation is fed on focus and emotional investment.
Mm-hmm.
What's emotional investment? Emotional investment is, I feel this. I'm angry and I feel it. Or life is a struggle and it's so frustrating. I have to work so hard to get by and it's so, frustrating.
I've been feeling frustrated lately.
Well, that's emotional investment.
I know.
So, focus and emotional investment, that is what really, really, really feeds and nourishes your manifestation.
Yeah.
When I say manifestations are not just positive. You have any thought, emotion, energy, experience, whatever, is a manifestation, even if it's negative.
Yep.
So a negative thought is a negative manifestation. It is a manifestation. So what feeds those negative manifestations? Focusing on them and giving them your emotional reaction, emotional investment. Now, so that you can imagine like water, like a plant. You have a plant. How do you feed the plant? You water it, right? That's how you nourish it. So how do you starve the manifestation? You want to weaken it. You want to let that negative manifestation get weaker, so you can go and create something new. How do you weaken it? You do the opposite. You take away the focus. You take away the emotional reaction by giving it what I call radical acceptance, completely accepting the fact that it's here, giving it the right to be here, but not really caring, and taking away your emotional reaction, your emotional investment through what I call non-reaction. Non-reaction is just detachment. Like, okay, this thought comes up. It takes struggle to get by in the world. Okay, I see that there's a thought that says that, but that's okay. I accept that it's here, but I'm not reacting to it with my emotions. I'm cutting that tie between thought and emotion that will bring it into reality, right? So I'm accepting it. I'm radically accepting it, and I'm not giving it any reaction. I'm giving it non-reaction, and that is what does it. Because really, the difference between something that will manifest, like feeding it and starving it, is do you identify with it as yours, or is it just a thought
Focus.
that's here? Right, focus. If you say this
Then
is
you're
my
separable.
if you say this is my belief, my emotion, my thought, you're giving it life, you're giving it focus, you're giving it identity. If you say this is just a thought that's here, and I don't have to do anything with it, I don't have to react, it's not a threat to me just sitting here as energy, it's not mine, it doesn't identify, it doesn't, define me, that is entering the zero state. So the easiest way to enter the zero state is just through mindfulness, meditation, deep breathing, whatever it does for you. You'll know when you enter it.
Yeah.
And, I recommend reading that post on the zero state to learn more about it. But what you really have to realize is that through um, entering the zero state, which is absolutely not focusing on your negative manifestation, you will starve it. So that belief comes up. It's a struggle to get by in the world, to make it in the world. And you say, oh, well, I'm not going to react to it. And you enter the zero state instead, and you enter the hub, the center of the wheel, and the spokes are going around and around. Because if you're on the spokes, it's tossing you around, right? If you're in the center, everything moves around you. It doesn't matter. And those spokes that aren't in alignment with what you want will just fall away, right? Those beliefs, the struggle, the hardship, all those beliefs will just fall away because you're starving them. You're not watering them. You're starving them of nutrients by not giving them your focus. So every time you enter the zero state, in spite of your negative, your limiting beliefs, you weaken them because your subconscious mind says, "Hey, hey, hey! You taught me to believe this, so you got to react to it, and you have to keep believing it." And you say, "No," and it says, "But you told me to, you told me to believe this." So I'm not believing it. I'm not going to go there. And then eventually it'll say, "Oh, okay." It'll let it go.
It's like the wheel, like the spokes are like tree branches
Yeah,
or something.
yeah.
And whenever you starve them, they just
They just
blow
fall
away.
off. Yeah. Blow away, and then you replace them with ones that you want.
Yep.
You create the story that you want. So that's how it is. You starve the negative manifestations. So you don't have to hammer away at them. Hammering away at them will give them more focus. Trying to do all these techniques on them will just give them more focus and reaction.
Yep.
But if you
And
go ahead,
and if you just keep trying to release it, you'll starve it, but you won't move forward with your manifestation.
right, and you won't quite
You'll
starve it because
you'll
it's always
you'll
focused.
starve it, but then you won't move forward at all.
Right,
You keep trying. I'm just going to release and clear, release and clear.
right,
Okay, but you won't. You'll stay in you won't go forward with your manifestation. And
right,
also with the feeling good thing, I wanted to say was the happy and all of that is good to keep you stable. It's
right,
not good. It's not that good for your manifestation because it's great to to help you out, and it's great to keep your
right.
manifestation there, but it's not good to increase. You have
Exactly.
to actually go forward energetically and increase it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you have to accept whatever's here, and happiness will increase as continue to be in the zero state. But you're always going to have some negative stuff going on.
That's right.
But
That's right.
hammering away at it is just going to give it more focus. You're just going to really make it grow. So you don't want to do that. So entering the zero state when you have a limiting belief is the absolute best way I've found of of starving it, of weakening it, and then moving towards the story you want to create instead.
Yep.
And that's the trick of it.
You have to learn. You learn to do it. It's a strong, simple way of. You don't have to be advanced. You don't have to do a lot of outlandish things. Right. You just have to be able to enter that zero state.
And it's not like you have to be in it for an hour or 2 hours.
God, no.
Just a few minutes.
And you can even go through your day in the zero state.
Yeah, go for a walk or
right.
Sometimes I'm in it when I play piano or sing or you don't have to go be all holy or something.
Right.
No.
There's still movement. They say the mind has to be still. It doesn't. The wheel still moves. The wheel still moves, but the center never does. So be in the center, and you won't move. But the movement will still happen around you.
I bet Brandon's in the zero state when he programs.
Oh, heck yeah.
He loves it. He loves it so much.
And if you're singing, you can still enjoy the singing. You'll be kind of meta to it. You'll be beside it.
Sure.
But from the zero state, you can still feel it and enjoy it if you want.
Right.
You just don't get attached to enjoying it. You go, oh, man, this feels good.
Right.
And then you let it go and enjoy the next moment that feels good.
Yeah.
You don't.
Yep.
Exactly. So that's how it all works. I hope that clarifies, how all this fits together. It's so absolutely important to work with the zero state. I cannot overstate it enough. It's just so extremely, incredibly important to work with that. And I hope that this kind of explains a little more of why that is. It's not just ignoring. It's not just, meditating. It's not just what it is. It is having that belief and not paying attention to it anyway, not focusing on it, not reacting to it anyway.
Because they will weaken over time, even when you come out of it. Because remember, people were complaining when they...
Yeah, they say, well, when you come back, it'll still be... Well, no, it won't, because...
Well, it will sometime.
It'll be weaker, though. It'll come back a little bit, maybe next day or whatever, but it'll be weaker.
Yeah.
Because you didn't give it your focus. It came to you looking for food, and you said, nope, I'm not feeding you. You said, I'm not doing it.
And it might take some time, but be patient with yourself.
Sure, but again, it doesn't have to be killed to death before you get
No, there's no, what's the hurry you're in?
Right.
You have your whole life.
Remember, you're creating in that zero spot. So
yes, exactly. And
your manifestation doesn't stop.
Right.
It's because you got a limiting belief walking around, hanging out with your friends.
Exactly.
You were in a zero space, and you dropped your dime in a zero space. You dropped your pebble in the pond. I call it dropping the pin, actually.
Yeah.
And the universe said okay, and every time you enter that space, you're going towards your manifestation, and then you just let it happen, and don't worry about the limiting beliefs. Just don't acknowledge them.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, hopefully that clarifies everything. I think that was a really good description of it.
Yeah.
And but again, if you have any questions on this or comments, feel free to stop over at the show notes, cocreationcoaching.org/CCYL011. If you have any questions, go over to cocreationcoaching.org/ask, and we'll be happy to answer your questions in future podcasts.
Yes. Oh, that's what I was just going to say.
Yeah. So with that, I hope everyone had a great New Year, first of all, and continues to have a great beginning of the new year. But with all that, I am Brandon Oliveris.
And I'm Christine Oliveris.
Justin Williams.
And I hope everyone has a wonderful day. Anything is possible.